Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too if you're watching content like this. The name of this channel, the name of our channel, is Holistic Manifesting, because I believe in a whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting the lives that we choose. What is that? Oh, a little candle. You know, you see something in the background. I'm like, what is that thing sitting in front of my little figurine? It's a little candle. But I wear glasses and I couldn't see it. So today what I'm discussing is 5 ways that we abandon ourselves in relationship with others. Now, this is normally what happens in romantic relationships, but this can also happen in friendships. It can happen in family relationships. It can happen with sisters, brothers, moms, aunts, uncles, children. It doesn't really matter. But we often, if we're not paying attention, these are 5 things that we might do that you may be doing right now and you may not even notice. But let's bring some attention to that, right? Number 1 is the first sign of disrespect that you see, you bite your tongue. And I am guilty of this too, because I have such a strong nature in me to want to connect with the higher version of other people. The only problem with that is that you tend to attract people who want to manipulate the fact that you are desiring to see the highest version of other people. And so you can get into a space where you know something is disrespectful, you know it's not acceptable, but a part of you feels more connection to the other person's trauma than it does to the healthy part of yourself, right? So it's like that teaches us. It's like, which way are you going to go with this, right? Because we'd be lying if we said that a lot of people are used to being disrespected in some kind of way, coming from childhood, coming from adulthood. And I'm not saying this is their lifestyle, but I mean, we know what disrespect is. We know when someone is like showing they, you know what, to us. It's like, what? We know it, right? So it's like we can get involved with people and they say something odd to us, right? But I used to have this rule, right? This rule of 3. First time it's happenstance. Well, no, first time it's just an occurrence. That's the thing. And I think I said this on this channel before. First time, it's simply an occurrence. Second time, it's happenstance. Third time, it's a pattern. A pattern equals personality. I think, I can't think of his name, but he does the cybergenetics or whatever. It's not Bruce Lipton. It's the other guy. But I'll think of it at some point. But nonetheless, he says that all the time. It's like, this is how personality is created over time, right? So sometimes when we interact with people and they're disrespectful and rude, we let that one time go. And that is the beginning of more and more negativity, because we crack that door open a little bit. And if we don't address it and they don't address it, then it's going to keep on coming back. Number 2 is you agree to major life plans that you are truly not in alignment with, right? So people do this all the time, right? They always tell people, don't quit jobs for people, don't move to new cities for people, don't be a stay-at-home mom for people, don't, there's so many things that there's so many don'ts, right? But we rarely hear when it actually works out, right? We mostly hear when trouble happened, when a stay-at-home mom was, jerked around, had no career, and then was divorced and replaced or something like that after the children were grown, or either when the children were still little. We hear these things, and so we hear the negative aspects of it, but we don't really hear about places where it's working, because generally when something is working for somebody, they're not shouting it from the rooftops. That's why I'm not big on people in relationship pictures all over social medias and stuff like that, because while I've posted some in the past of myself, it's not that. It's just when the whole presence and the whole personality is based on these 2 people. Because once you do that, then you kind of put an image out there to the world that you 2 come as a unit. And so any break in that unit is going to cause a break in every other part in your world where you represented yourself with the other person like that. When you want to make these major life changes, you have to be on board with what other people are asking of you, or you have to be willing to say no. There's only 2 options, right? A lot of people talk about this. So I was with a boyfriend or a husband. He wanted me to quit my job so I can be at home and take care of the home. And I'm always like, that's a good decision, be careful. I'm going to say that to anybody. I'd say that to a man if he said, dude, this rarely happens. It's like, my wife wanted me to quit my job so I can just stay home, but they don't have kids. Like, you don't hear that very much, right? But just know that you have to be in alignment with it, because once you make that major life change and then somehow the relationship becomes on the rocks, you have to then sit with that change that you made, and then hopefully you like it, right? I mean, and I don't think anything is wrong with making a life changes, but what I'm saying is line up with it, right? I moved to another city with someone that I was with at the time, and I wind up really loving the city, right? I would have never gone to the city on my own. I would have never moved on my own because I just didn't have a desire to. I was kind of comfortable, right? So sometimes when people force their life decisions on us, they're actually positive things, because even if we're not with the people anymore or something like that, we can benefit from, that was a good decision, and you can be accountable for it and accept it. But you can't go blaming people afterwards because you made a decision that they wanted and then you resent them because you actually said yes. Number 3 is you sacrifice more than you feel comfortable with. That's huge. And this is uncomfortable for a lot of people. I've had to do this in my own life with family members and friends. With certain things that I wanted to share and give, I always put limitations on it because I knew that I couldn't drain my own well dry. I'd done it enough to know that I don't want to have panic attacks. I don't want anxiety. I don't want to have an empty stomach with no appetite. Like, so many things starts to happen when I'm not in alignment, right? So I decided, I was like, you know what? You have to be able to put up those boundaries and say that I'm not going to sacrifice more of myself than what I'm actually comfortable with right now. And sometimes when you're with people and they see a bigger mission that's bigger than you, and they see a mission that's bigger than you in some kind of way, they don't really care whether you are in agreement or love the plan. They figure, this person will sacrifice themselves, and then they'll see that I had the best idea. That's how a lot of people act in relationships. So you have to remember that you don't go dragging people around, and you don't allow yourself to be dragged, right? And you don't sacrifice more in your life than what you're comfortable with, because the first thing that happens when you feel like you've sacrificed too much, it's like 40% of the videos on YouTube. You're resentful, you're bitter, and you're angry, and then you're telling everybody else that they shouldn't be in relationships because of this thing that happened with you, right? So we just want to make sure that we don't get in that space of martyrdom, then we don't have to try to recover from it. Number 4 is we give too much attention to another person's needs and wants over our own. So this is kind of piggybacking on the other one, but this is kind of like I look at this number 4 as how we may be on an everyday basis, like how we may act on an everyday basis. So like, you wanted to have something for dinner that was a certain way, and maybe your partner wanted to have something else for dinner, and they're not really giving on that end of it. So every single time you go with what they want for dinner, right? And so that's when your self-concept starts to slip. People think, oh, that's just a small thing. No, it's little things all across the board, right? I've seen this happen in marriages, relationships, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's for the better, sometimes it's for the worse. You never know, right? But people tend to share information and share identities with each other, which is perfectly fine. But you can't give someone more attention than you have on yourself when it comes to like your life goals and dreams and ideas and like who you want to be and where you want to be. And I found in my own experience, the only people that don't understand that were people that saw me as an object as opposed to an entire person. And generally, I've only had this issue with like parents, because it is hard for parents and siblings too, especially if you play certain roles in those groups, to see you in a different way. So a lot of times, once the relationship is not as it was when you were in your youth, it doesn't always come around to a new type of relationship, because everybody's not comfortable with where you are now. And especially if you're lower on the ranking and hierarchy as far as age and all that kind of stuff goes. And I'll find myself the same way too. I have nieces and nephews and stuff, and I think about that all the time. Like, can you go to them for advice and information? And I know that I can, because I've actively seen myself not be used as a person for that because of my age in certain settings, right? And so now I think like, man, some people can be wise at 25. I'm subscribed to so many people that are wise at 20, 25 years old. And I'm like, I was was like that too. We didn't have the internet, so I wrote books. But, and just sharing that information, you always have to pay attention to your personal needs. And even if you're comfortable with giving those up temporarily or a specific time, be very careful with watching people who don't care when your needs are not being met, right? And this can be the smallest things. Like I said, food. It can also be bed. Oh my goodness. It can be bed wise, like how people sleep and what they do. Like if you're sharing a bed with someone and stuff, and say you're a person that doesn't like to cuddle, but then the other person likes to cuddle the whole entire night. And then you make a compromise to say, yes, I'll cuddle the whole entire night, but you're super freaking uncomfortable, right? And I've heard this so many times from people. You can't do that. You can tell the person, hey, we can cuddle for the first 15 minutes, but then I'm about to turn over and I'm going to do my own thing so I can actually sleep, right? So we have to remember to put our own needs and what's important to us in front. And that's not saying be selfish and never look at other people's perspectives, but it's knowing when, I gave on this, I gave on that, I gave on that. I really need to get a sense of myself. So I need to remember what my needs are and what's important to me and give myself some attention. This could be just one day a week that you sit and meditate, go to the spa, go take a walk or whatever. But that one day a week will be a lifesaver in a good relationship because you can reset yourself, right? And then you both can benefit from that. Number 5 is the last one. Ultimately, we don't value ourselves enough in sometimes these relationships, right? And when we don't value ourselves enough, we automatically abandon ourselves. It's like we abandon ourselves immediately. And I don't think oftentimes that people know how often. So the newer generations are a little bit different. But like when I was growing up, I don't even know how many generations there are now. I think I'm what they call an Xennial, because I can't really say that I'm Gen X because a lot of Gen Xers don't even like technology, and I'm well versed in that area. But I'm not really a millennial because they have certain characteristics that people don't like that I don't have. I don't really care about generational stuff, but I'm just looking at it the way that media has been presenting it, right? So it's like, you get out there and you start to share who you are, and the first thing that the world does, which I don't think is the same anymore, but I'm talking about when I was 15, 16 years old, is tell you that you need to change this, change that, tweak this, tweak that, so that the boys can like you. I'll be honest with you. I was on the phone with my mom a few days ago, and she probably was kidding, but I was talking about something related to gaining weight, and I was like, I'm so happy, I whatever we were talking about. And she's like, well, you know what they say, men like that. And I'm like, why do I care? And I was like, as far as I've noticed, men take anything. And she's like, they like the hips. They like the, yeah, we all like a lot of stuff, right? But I mean, I've seen all kinds of women in relationships. I'm like, so women brainwash themselves into the thinking that there's this perfect ideal that they're supposed to be out there or something like that. And what happens in that process is that over time, you start to not value who you authentically are, and you're always looking out there in the world trying to see other people's value and thinking, I don't have that, I wish I had that, I don't have that, I wish I had that. And it becomes a thing when you get into a relationship because you're easy pickings with the wrong kind of person, especially if you're an empathic person. You're easy pickings because they know you want to be the bigger person. They know you want to be the best version of yourself. They know all these things already. And so sometimes if you're in the wrong environments, people will take advantage of that, right? And so making sure that we value ourselves enough comes in those first few things that I was talking about. It's like taking those long walks, making sure we're not allowing ourselves to be disrespected, making sure we're not playing ball when people are playing games, right? That video was really popular. I like that game. I like that video because it's so true. I mean, it's like where I'm at in my life right now. It's like sometimes we watch people play games and then we interact with them. No, if you're playing games and you're being nonsense, I'm about to shut you off. About to shut the door like the compounds on The Walking Dead. Nobody in, nobody out, because I'm just not about to do any of that with anybody. So we have to know our value in every space that we're in. I don't care what degrees you have. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what kind of car you drive. I don't care where you live at. I don't care whether you've traveled the world or not. You can't walk around acting like you're at a deficit because that is exactly how the world is going to treat you. And when you're in a relationship, that is the prime time for someone to treat you with less value. And it's not because they don't love you. It's just because they're human. And if you don't value yourself, you'll just get pushed out of the way and they'll just give you the ideas and give you the mindset and tell you what to do and tell you what to be and tell you who you are, because you don't have that established enough for yourself, right? So I don't want this video to go too long. I hope y'all are having a wonderful, wonderful day. Until next time, keep manifesting magic. Yeah, I haven't said that in a minute. Manifesting magic. I had to stop saying it because some witchcraft people were showing up under my videos. And I'm like, I'm not talking about that kind of magic. Anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful day.